welcome to Cooking with and Candice. Wait, he's not here. That's right, because he ditched me. He ditched me tonight for work people. Work people! What do you do when your significant other ditches you and you're left home alone? They're still kids, but they're asleep. You make flan. Why flan? Well, because it has a ton of dairy in it, and it requires one thing he is completely incapable of: patience. You actually have to let it cool for about 4 hours after you bake it. So, before we go any further, thank you to Andrew of Chapel Beer and Wine. Always hooks us up with our favorite wines and beers. If you're in the Germantown area, go to Fox Chapel Shopping Center and go to Chapel Beer and Wine, where Andrew will hook you up too with your favorite wines and beers. Now, let's get down to the recipe. First, I have a confession. I've never actually made flan before. I've always been very intimidated by it. So, first thing you're going to do is preheat your oven to 350 degrees, which I've already started. And here are the ingredients that you will need. You will need 1 1/4 cup of whole milk, 3/4 to 1 cup of white sugar, and we'll get to why you've got that variation in amounts in a minute. 1 tablespoon of vanilla, or a little bit more. 1 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk. 4 eggs, a cake pan. Kind of the smaller the better. The recipe calls for a 7-inch pan. I don't have a 7-inch pan. I just have this one. It's about 9.5 inches, okay? So this brings me to, I'm going to need a little bit more sugar because I'm going to make a little bit more of the syrup that you pour into the base of your pan. You will also need something else that is oven safe, that you can place your pan in and pour some water up about halfway into. First thing you're going to do is turn on your hot plate 3 days ahead of time. No, I'm kidding. You're going to take your sugar. Now, if you have the 7-inch pan, you will do the 3/4 of a cup of sugar. Now, if you have a seriously wide pan like mine at 9.5 inches, you're going to go closer to the 1 cup so that you can still be certain to have enough coverage on your pan, enough coverage for your flan with the caramelized sugar. You're going to pour all of your sugar in at once, just sugar, only sugar, and you're going to stir almost constantly, especially once it starts to melt and turn brown and clumpy. You cannot stop stirring. And you cannot get impatient and turn your heat up because it will burn. Just keep stirring, just keep stirring. What? She's so cute. Look at her. She's all curled up like a little mollusk. We should have named her Gary. Okay, so mine was taking forever. And I thought to myself, maybe I have the wrong pan. This is a copper skillet. This is a regular skillet. Poured a little in here, it works. So, if you have a copper skillet, don't use it. Use a regular metal one instead. Who knew? And at this point, once it starts clumping, you need to stir it constantly. Now you can see all of it is rock looking. It's not white anymore. It's starting to turn brown, and it's starting to melt some too. Yay! Progress! And now we see it's really starting to melt. Okay, so it is just about done, and once you put it in the right skillet, it actually moves along pretty quickly. I'd say it's probably 5, 6, maybe 7 minutes. So here you can see it's all liquefied, it's all nice and brown, nice, beautiful caramel, and it smells so good. So, next step is to pour it into your cake pan, and you're going to do it relatively quickly, because as it cools, it will harden pretty quickly. Handle your pan up at the edges because the whole pan gets hot. Oh, this would be the one place where Michael can say, "Fuck, that's hot." There will be no fuck that's hot at the end because it will cool for 4 hours. Got our fuck that's hot pot holder. That's what your Flan's caramel should look like at this point. And we're gonna set that aside. You can see it's already starting to cool. I wanna keep it kind of even. I tilted it by accident. Okay, now your next step after you've poured your caramel into your cake pan, now we're gonna do I call it the body of the flan. I don't know what it's really called, the main part of the flan, okay? The original recipe says to just dump everything in at once and then warns you not to whisk it too hard or too much to put air bubbles in it. So I'm gonna do the eggs first, whisk them until they're completely scrambled, then add the other stuff in and then just basically stir with my whisk. And hopefully that will minimize the bubbles. Whisk your eggs. Okay, they look as thoroughly scrambled as eggs ever get. Now you can dump everything in whatever order you want. I'm gonna do an extra half. Now I'm gonna pour in my 1 1/4 cup whole milk and my entire 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk, not to be confused with evaporated milk. Kind of the consistency of yogurt. So you will need a spatula to get every last bit of it out. Okay. And now everything is in. You stir gently. Okay, so it looks like it's just about done. Let's just scrape the sides. Okay, and this is what it looks like when it's done. We're gonna put our cake pan into the water holding pan. I've used some skewers to try to help keep mine from rocking quite so much because mine is just a little too wide at the top to really sit all the way down at the bottom. Give it one last stir. I don't know what for, paranoia, good luck. We pour the cake over the caramel. Next, we need to pour water in here. Pour your water in until it reaches halfway up your flan cake pan. And as best as I can tell, the reason why you put water in the pan is because the steam cooks the cake in addition to the heat of the oven. I don't know. I'm not totally sure. I don't totally understand, but you can't skip the water step. Okay. Now, put it in your oven, which you've preheated to 350 degrees, and hope that you don't spill the water. Slow and careful. So it is in the oven where I will cook mine for about 1 hour. If you have the smaller, taller cake pan, then you will cook that for 1 hour and 15 minutes. Now, when it is done, it will still be a little jiggly in the center. It will continue to cook in its own heat. And then after it cools off for a bit, you will transfer it into the fridge where it will cool for 4 hours. See you when it's done. Okay, so my timer has gone off and it's time to take the flan out and check it. Remember to open very slowly so you don't burn yourself with the hot water. Okay, so we've got our flan out. Now we need to uncover it, partially so we can let it cool, but of course also so we can check it and make sure that 1 hour really was enough. And I think 1 hour has been enough. It does still look a little jiggly in the center, but I think it is done. Now we just have to wait, again, for it to cool down to room temperature. Once it's room temperature, you're going to put it in your fridge for at least 4 hours or overnight. Then we get to cut it tomorrow morning. See you then. Okay, so we're back. It is the next morning. Our flan has been chilling in the fridge overnight. Now, the next step in your flan process is you take it out of the fridge and you put it into a warm water bath. You're just heating up the caramel on the bottom part of the pan, and that's so that the caramel comes off rather than sticking cold and solid, sticking to the pan, and then you get a caramel-less flan. This is what it looks like now. It's been soaking for about 5-10 minutes, probably closer to 10. You only really need to soak it for 5, but it took me forever to get the camera and the light set up. Now we're going to take it out of the water bath, make a little bit of a mess. It's like taking your toddler out of the bath. You're going to take your plate, make sure it's at least as big as your cake pan. Put it on top, grip the two firmly, and flip quickly. And lift. Nope. Nope, mine did not come out. So, flip back over. Get a spatula or butter knife. You're going to scrape just around the edge to separate the flan from the cake pan. All right, now it's spinning, you can see. So I think it's going to come out this time. So we'll try it again. Lid on top. Grip firmly. Grip both of them firmly. I hope you can see my fingers underneath the lip of the cake pan. Very firmly, and flip very quickly. Because remember, your caramel is now liquid. Oh, there we go. But most of my caramel did stay in my pan. But clearly we have plenty of caramel for our flan. Look at it, isn't it pretty, isn't it beautiful? I can't really tip it at all because of course the liquid caramel will spill. Now it's time for me to eat it. Not the whole thing, just one slice, promise. Yeah, here we go. We'll find out if it was worth all the waiting. Definitely plenty of caramel, even with it stuck in the cake pan. So, smells good. Ooh, yeah. Very good. I think increasing the vanilla in this recipe was a good idea. Oh yeah. This is so good. So, before I stuff my face with all of it, thanks to everyone who's been watching. You will see us both back this next week, next Saturday. As always, Saturday at 8 o'clock. Thanks for watching. Bye.